welcome to the Book of Wellbeing podcast, a place to help you to understand, manage and improve your mental health and wellbeing, where you will find the knowledge, guidance and tools you need to improve your life and where you can build your own wellbeing toolkit to take with you. In episode 2 we focused on thoughts. In this episode we're going to focus on the art of overthinking, something that occurs when we focus too much or for too long on those thoughts. Overthinking is self-destructive. It steals our mood and clouds our perception of situations. We overanalyze situations because we're afraid of what will happen if we're not prepared for it. Our mind replays and replays a situation to try to problem solve and make sense of what's going on, but it doesn't help. It just makes the problem or the situation bigger. The more we think, the less sense it actually makes. And the more we think on it, the more we come up with unhelpful conclusions. Replaying the story in our thoughts repetitively doesn't change a thing. Our minds are programmed to problem solve, which can be helpful, but where overthinking is concerned, it follows this process for situations where we're desperate to find an answer, where sometimes there just isn't one, or our minds can't find the accurate answer because the situation is not within our control. And when we can't or resist accepting things and moving on, we keep over-analysing a situation. And we do this because we give those negative thoughts more and more focus, weight and attention. We give them most of our attention and we make them a priority of importance by repetition, creating a habit of overthinking. There's an endless list of the things that we can overthink, and they're usually driven by a fear of some kind, an anxiety or a worry, and we want to instinctively protect ourselves. We struggle to accept uncertainty and the unknown, and this fear that we create for ourselves through our thoughts is certain to us, so we keep going back to it. Some examples of very common things that we overthink can be relationships, our communication, what we said or what we didn't say, what we've done, what we didn't do, money, the past, worries about the future, our health, other people's thoughts and opinions. In this day and age with social media, it's easy to fall into a trap of overthinking that everyone has a better life than you. But in reality, everyone's life has hardships. When we overthink, we jump to conclusions that we're not as good or as successful as others, like everyone else has life figured out and we're doing it wrong. This is a false and inaccurate conclusion. We're all winging it. When we fall into patterns and habits of overthinking, we give too much importance to things that are not in line with our values, maybe out of our control, or are insignificant to our lives in the bigger picture. We dwell on what already happened or make stories up and role-play what is yet to happen, a worst-case scenario. We struggle to disassociate from negative thoughts, and this pattern of thinking and mindset causes more and more insecurity and psychological distress. We ruminate and beat ourselves up about our perceived flaws or the things we have done and said. We prevent ourselves from having permission to be human, to make mistakes and be imperfect. Every emotion that we feel is driven by our thoughts. And so the more we're thinking about something negative, the more negative we're going to feel. And it can be really hard to break this cycle if it's something that we've been doing for a long time. But we can break the cycle. It can be done. If our thoughts are created through habit, we can create new habits to think more positively, and then as a result, to feel more positively about ourselves and our life. And how do we do this? So I'm going to talk you through some steps that can really help with overthinking. But before we do that, one important thing to consider is that changing this cycle and this habit of overthinking negative things will take work. These exercises and practices won't just change things if you do them once. You have to persevere If you want to feel better and to live a happier life and break these thought cycles, then keep working at these steps and the things that I'm going to talk you through. Keep doing them over and over again until a new habit is formed. So, the first thing we need to do is to become aware. Be aware of our thoughts and what's going on in them. Most of our overthinking happens because we're not aware. We're getting lost and trapped in stories of rumination and negative stories. But the more we become aware of our thoughts, the more we're able to break the cycle. So this is really easy once you get the hang of it. Rather than getting lost and caught in a story, you just observe your thoughts in your own mind. So you just look for them with curiosity. You're not judging the thoughts that come. Thoughts are all automatic, and you're not a bad person for having any negative thoughts, but just be aware and curious. And when you are becoming aware, you will get lost in stories again because your thoughts in that habit, but that's okay. You just keep coming back to awareness of what's going on in your mind so that you take the reins and you have control over what happens next. Once we are aware, the next step is to observe how much of our overthinking is about things that we can't control. And what you will probably find is that a lot of these thoughts, probably the majority of them, are things that you can't control, such as the past, things that have already happened, or the future. You're not there yet, so you can't control that bit. And then we find that we're wasting a lot of our precious time on things that we don't have any control over. So if we don't have control over it, why are we giving it our precious time? Why are we wasting our energy and our mood on things that we have no control over? And then by doing this, we're able to separate any of those overthinking thoughts that we do have control over a situation. So things that we've been wasting a lot of time thinking about. We know we can control and change the situation, but we haven't been doing anything about it. So this step is about making an action plan and doing something about the things that we can control that we're spending a lot of time thinking about. So for an example, this could be if we have said something to somebody, if we've maybe upset someone or we've been angry or said something impulsively that we're regretting, but we haven't faced the music with it. Do we need to go back and talk to that person and apologise or talk through the communication that we had? If we're overthinking about money, it might be that we can't change or influence the amount of income we've got right now, but maybe we can budget and plan how we're spending our money a bit better so that we can let go of some of that thought and the negative emotion attached to it. So we've become aware of our thoughts, or we've started to become aware. We have observed the thought cycles that we have no control over, the situation, and the ones that we do. And then we can think about how we fix or problem solve or improve that situation. The next step that we need to do is we need to break the cycle. So we spend a lot of our day, we get up in the morning, we think the same stories, the same things that we've thought the day before. We maybe get to our desk, we do the same again, or we maybe sit on our sofa, and we're in this cycle of constantly thinking and ruminating over the same things. It's really tiring. Even half an hour after you've got out of bed, if you are an overthinker, this is really exhausting for your brain to be thinking a lot of this negative stuff that then makes you feel negative. So breaking the cycle is vital to overcoming overthinking. And you need to find something that helps you to take your mind out of that story and situation and onto something else. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to keep doing this. So it might be some form of activity or a hobby something that takes you out of it. Cleaning can be a good one. However, just observe your mind when you're doing something like cleaning. Does it go back over those stories? Do you need to find something else that really takes you out of your thoughts? Your mind needs a break, and you need to break the cycle. And distraction and other activities, trying something new, keeping busy, these things really help to break the cycle. And the last step, probably the hardest for people who aren't used to it, is meditation. The majority of people who will hear the word meditation will not consider it and will resist it straight away because it's the unknown and it feels uncomfortable. And meditation doesn't have to be about following a particular spiritual belief or for being weird, because it's not. Meditation is about taking control over your mind and your thoughts, and this control will be more sustainable if you include meditation into your life regularly. So you can go on the internet, you can go on YouTube and find meditation exercises if you really, really struggle to do it yourself. But the most simplest way of meditating is just to sit, to close your eyes, and to keep focusing on your breath and the moment that you're in right now and become that observer. And do this. You can start, if you're not used to it, for 5 minutes, 5 minutes every morning or every night, and then build it up until you can sit with thoughts and thought control more easily, because this really helps you to develop as a person and to become more aware of what is going on in your mind and how you quieten it, how you give your mind a break and switch it off. And moving on to this week's toolkit, I just have two simple things to introduce to you. So the first one is about meditation that we've just talked about, and it's an app for a smartphone called Insight Timer. I will put a picture or a screenshot of this app on my Instagram and Facebook pages. It's free, you can get a paid version, but I've got the free version, and there are guided meditations, but also there's a timer that you can use for meditation so that you can set a time that's achievable for you. It's 5 minutes, and it records your daily use of the app so that you can try and challenge yourself. Do it for 30 days, like we talked about in a previous episode. Introducing a new habit or pattern for 30 days makes it more sustainable for us longer term. So set yourself this challenge and try this app because it's really, really helpful. And the second tool for overthinking is to get a piece of paper, keep an eye and observe your thoughts over a day, and write down the themes. So write down the things that you are finding you're overthinking about. Then once you've got this list, because there will be a list, it's often more than one thing we're overthinking if we're used to overthinking, then we need to eliminate or put a cross next to the ones where the situation is something out of our control. So by physically writing a cross or crossing it out, we are giving ourselves a physical message that we can't control this situation, so we need to let it go. And then the ones that we've left with that we can control, we need to think about what we could do to make this situation better. How can we resolve it? Or how can we move on from it and start to action plan? So really simple, but just get it on a pen and paper, and this also helps with that awareness of what's going on in your mind. So follow the steps that I talked through before and use these two tools to try and help with overthinking. But like I said earlier, this isn't easy and it will take a lot of practice and perseverance. But this is achievable once you incorporate these new patterns and these new techniques into your life. You can overcome being an overthinker and you can enjoy more of life and feel better. that's it for this week's episode. I hope some of this has been valuable to you and you can share it with people you know who are serial overthinkers. Tune into the Facebook and Instagram pages for more advice and guidance, and have a nice week.